Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here today at our Meisterplan product webinar. Let's just go ahead and get started. Uh, Once again, welcome to this webinar. It is our roadmap, the latest and greatest from Meisterplan. We will start in a couple of seconds, but just some housekeeping items first. Number one, this webinar will be recorded. Additionally, during our Q&A sessions, you will be able to use the raise hand function, which is shown here at the bottom of the screen, or the question panel that is also at the top of your screen on the right-hand side. And you can always type any of your questions that you have into there, and we will try our best to get to them. And finally, we welcome your feedback in the post-webinar survey. So with no further ado then, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Katie. I am the product marketing manager here at Meisterplan. And with me, I have my colleagues, Debbie, who is the director of customer success, and Miriam, who's a product owner here at Meisterplan and really has the inside scoop on some of the product. So then, without further ado, let's take a look at our agenda. We're going to start with a deep dive on the allocation phases, which is a current beta feature we have. Then Miriam will take over and let us know what's coming next for this feature. Then we will look at our product roadmap. And then finally, we will end with a Q&A session. So then without further ado, I will hand it over to you, Debbie. Take it away.
Thanks, Katie. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining or listening after the recording is received. Just as a reminder, our product team continues to roll out features monthly, and it's really a great idea to stay connected to that. And there's a few ways you can do that. One is signing up for our newsletter, which includes the product updates, and you'll see those delivered in email. Also, you can access our product roadmap online directly from Meisterplan's help menu. The third way is in the right-hand corner while you're in Meisterplan, that little bell, or actually to the right of the bell, allows you to see some of the latest released features directly in a list. And then, of course, you have these webinars that you can see certain features in action. There are some old features that have been that will be part of today's demo as it supports the allocation phases. Primarily, I will be highlighting our newest feature for allocation phases, milestone status, and how those work together. After I am through with the deep dive, the product team will speak on what's cooking up. All right, so before I hop over to Meisterplan, I'd like to review a few things just from a terminology and making sure we're thinking of this in the same way. When we speak of phases, we are focused on when the project is active as opposed to when the pre-work is done before that project starts. So usually there's a kickoff of the project. It continues with planning, execution, and finally some support time of, during that launch. Usually there are some pre-work things that happen and some governance checkpoints. We call those stages. So how it flows through getting ready to start the work and the approvals at certain checkpoints that you've defined. The stages are what we think of as some of the pre-work. Now, during the demo, I will also show a new feature for milestone status. These statuses are currently fixed to the 4 answers you see here on the screen. Milestone status will not update any overall project health field. We do assume the project manager still needs to assess the overall project health from many factors, whether it's milestones, maybe being off track, financials, and other things. So just so you see the new statuses, but how they kind of work independently. All right, let's get over to Meisterplan. showing off the allocation phases. This has been a highly voted on feature by many customers, so we're very excited on how this helps you with mid to long-term high-level planning. I'm going to first start with some of the setup. So for the Meisterplan administrators that are on the call today, one of the things that needs to be done to see this feature, because it still is in our beta program, is at the subscription level, you need to enable the beta access to your organization. Now, that doesn't mean anything changes for anybody until you tell people to turn it on. Once it's out of beta, you don't need to go through this step. But in order to turn this on and see what I will show you today, you need to be able to join that beta program. And that's individually, each person who wants to see it needs to join the beta program. Okay? Some other items that need to be either set up or just let's review and making sure they are set up. The first is the phases. So allocation phases are all based on what you see here in your advanced section. Most customers are able to agree on a general set of phases. Now, if for some reason you have different types of projects and you're not able to agree on different types of phases, different or the same phase names, I'd recommend adding phases that start with maybe certain prefixes for that project type. Maybe for your R&D projects, here's the phases. For your for your department-led projects, here's the phases. Ideally, it is one set if you're able to consider that. The color coding here is nice to be able to put that in while you are setting the phase, because later I'll show you how those colors come into play. All right, the other area that is important is where the security needs to be set for people to do these functions. You'll probably notice one of our recently released features is an improvement to how the user group settings are set up. What I'd like you to know is that for editing the allocations within a phase, someone in that user group does need edit plan of record, which is in the second tab. You also need, on the third tab, the ability to edit allocations either by role or by resource teams and roles. Okay, if you have none selected, they're not able to edit allocations by phases. A couple other security settings while I'm here. Phases are dependent on milestones being created. There is a setting here for adding, editing, and deleting milestones and their dependencies. A user group needs to be identified on who is adding, editing, and deleting milestones, and this needs to be set on. Likely program managers, project managers, portfolio coordinators have this set, but that's an important part of this feature. What doesn't need to be set to make the milestones work is the ability to change project schedule. That's only important if you are changing the start and finish date directly as the fields in project details. All right, now that we got some of the basic ideas out of the way, I want to go over to Portfolio Designer and just start showing you some things that right away are available. The first is when working with milestones and phases, you can color code the Gantt by project phases. So that's where the colors come in. It will also come in on the roadmap. The phases are defined as by these milestones, and one of our existing features we have is the ability to add milestones here directly in Portfolio Designer. So if I were to add a milestone here, I can add the planning phase, and I can keep it on track as we just are getting started. And so these are what's going to be very important when we start looking at phase level allocation. Now, what's important to know is in today's portfolio designer, we have not changed this yet to enter things by phase. What we can do is split the allocations at that milestone, which tends to behave in the same fashion. It's just not technically linked yet. Some improvements are coming to do allocation phase editing here when the new portfolio designer is being planned. So what to know here is you can still put in milestones as before. You can adjust those milestones as before if I move it, but notice how it didn't move the section. One other thing I want to show is when I move the Gantt and you see the broken dependencies, that's been one of our features we have. This has been enhanced in project details, and I'll show you that in a moment. All right, so now let's go into project details where the majority of the deep dive is going to give you some information. In our traditional time grid allocation mode, right away after you enter the beta, you'll see an improvement where the Gantt is being shown, the milestones are being shown. If you hover on the milestone, you see some of the milestone dates and the phase it's in, as well as the status. The other improvement right away to this Gantt visual is you can see that broken dependency with a red. Remember, we saw that in Portfolio Designer. The other thing you can do is when you're hovering over a milestone, you can move those milestones directly in here if you had that security setting. Previously, you would have had to go into the milestones and adjust the milestone dates here, but now they've given the ability to do it directly on the allocation tab. All right. The second thing is now when I switch to allocation mode of phases, you see something totally different. A phase here is defined as something between two different milestones. Now notice when I'm looking at, say, this phase down here, let me move that over. From this point of the milestone to this one, it's just giving you a big time slice, which then allows you to say, how much time do I need from a resource or role or team during that time period? When you have edit allocation rights, it allows you to key something in directly here to say, I'm needing this person for 200 days during this time period. When you see an open slice block here, like over here at the end of Elias or Anna has nothing here in November, it means they're not working in that phase. But if you just hover over that section, you're able to click into that section and indicate someone is needed in that phase and then just key it in directly. The red bar is still showing the problems. There's a constraint happening here. You'll have to dig into how bad the constraint is and are there different options for you, but it does give you a quick awareness that there is a concern here during certain time periods. All right. Something to know about milestones and how they're added does make a difference in how it behaves here. So for example, notice, remember the milestone I added in Portfolio Designer, the new milestone. I added a phase still in the planning phase, which meant when adding a phase name, it's breaking this into two different chunks. So even though this is still planning, it allows me to further refine time in between milestones, okay? If you want a pure phase allocation, what's important to know is that you don't want to add a phase name here. Just leave it blank. And when I go back, notice how I now have one big time slice and not two. So even though that milestone is there, without a phase name, it allows you to see the whole phase again. So depending on how you want to approach entering time, which this should allow you to enter time more quickly instead of by month or by quarter, and still get a further refinement of when are people ramping on, when are people ramping off. It does allow you that extra option. If I put a phase name, it does allow me to put in two chunks of time. The other thing to know, when the allocation unit is days or hours, it behaves a little differently than if it was allocation unit FTE. And let me show you how that works. So when I have, say, if I go back to time grid mode, and let's say I entered 10, 5, 15, 20, 15. What the phase mode does is technically add up all of these times and puts it into a time slice, 58 days. Now, if I move this milestone where it's going to end later, it still keeps 58 days as the effort, but notice the duration of that milestone has changed. Okay. If I change that to FTE and did the same thing, it would actually, so say I'm 0.5 FTE, I move it to even later. While it's still 5 FTE, notice the total here changed, and you'll see it more clearly here. It actually spreads that phased amount linear over across that period of time, but the FTE actually increases the effort during that period of time right there. Let me show you again. If I were 0.5 here, and I go back to phase mode and change that to 1, I'm changing the duration and the effort. Sorry, I should have kept it at 0.5 for you to see a realistic change there. I'm changing the duration as well as the effort. So that's an important piece to know. That this phase now is increased effort and duration. So that behaves differently, just for you to be aware. If you're trying to increase the effort along with duration, change it to FTE. If you want to keep the same effort with a longer duration, change it to days and hours. Great. We talked about phases being able to expand or shrink already. When doing mid to long-term planning and entering time here by phase, some examples we've heard from customers that are eager to use this is, say in software development, you have some projects that require QA time, QA people to come in later on later phases. This allows you now to set a milestone to when should QA ramp up, and they can enter your time. Let's pretend this last one, they can enter more time here that they should do some QA work. So this is how we see it easier to enter without the time grid mode and be able to respect that there is still some ramp up and ramp down along the continuum of that project. All right, a couple other areas to look at. When I'm looking at the phases, if you are using actual time, whether you're importing those actual time or you're using my schedule to enter actual time, or as a project manager, you're entering actual time here, what is really cool is when you compare actual time, you can now see the actual time in that same phase compared to the time you planned in that phase. So you still have the deviation overall, but now you see both aggregated for you to compare phase by phase instead of just month by month. All right, I want to switch over to roadmap. So once milestones are being used and phase names are being used, the roadmap also can be configured to color code by phase, so that when I'm looking at, right now I'm looking at by goal, you can see those color codes here. You can also see if a project had a dependency that was not being met, that would also be color coded here. Notice the rollout SAP also has that missed dependency right within the screen. One thing to know is based on these filters, we've had these filters here for you. The one that's most used is the state range. If you kind of want to focus, let's kind of get into the month here. I can focus the milestones to show within, say, the next 3 months state range, so it doesn't become too busy off to the right, and I'm just looking at the next 3 months. That's a nice way to just keep a rolling 3 months there. We did have a filter here for project phase, which says, show me all milestones that are, say, in the planning phase. The one thing to keep in mind is if you don't use the phase name, you won't see that milestone here, even though technically it's in that planning phase. So this is one of the things that is just an impact of that behavior of being a little more connected to a phase. Give us your feedback on what you would expect here if that's not something you would think to do, but I just want to let you know how this could be impacted if you're not using those phase names. All right, the other area to show you with milestones and in mind is on our dashboard. If you're using our dashboard, it continues to be enhanced. The upcoming milestones section here, which is one of the cards you can add, a milestone list, it has also the date range here. You can do monthly, rolling period, or weekly. It also has a ability to do project phase filtering. It's going to have the same impact I just shared with you on the roadmap, that if you don't have a phase on your milestones, you won't see those here in the list. But if you don't filter by phase, you don't need to worry about that. But another option you do have is milestone status, which does seem to be a great approach to transparency at the portfolio level of milestones that are in trouble. You can actually look for any milestones off track within a certain time period and see those on the screen. So again, kind of pre-filtering down to the audience and what they care to see. This gives you many different options here on the dashboard. And while I'm here, I did want to show off one of our newest KPIs that are allowed to be added to a card. what you see is the ability to do time slices by years, quarter, or month. And when you do that, you have the option of planned allocations or actual time. So take a look at that if you haven't already and be able to see how that's working for you. And of course, we are eager to get your feedback on what type of KPIs make most sense for you. All right, we went through a lot. We're going to pause for some questions at this point on a deep dive before we go over to the roadmap item with Miriam, just so it gives you a chance to kind of, while it's fresh in your mind, think about what was just going on, since there was a lot there. Katie, if you don't mind, is there any questions from the group? As a reminder, the right-hand side has a little question mark. Just key it in, and Katie will read those off.
Yeah, so we currently have a question of, in the board view or the team planner, can you see these phases too?
All right. In a way, so the board, let's start with board view. The board view does allow you to put in the let's see, you won't be able to see the phases or group by the phases here. Because it's more specific to allocations. So board view, no, but feel free to give your feedback if you think there was a use case. Obviously, you think there's a use case for it, but give us your feedback. Team planner is actually maybe a good example. So in team planner, we do have the ability to color code this Gantt by something, and we don't have project phase currently. So I could color code this by a goal, for example, and when I highlight, notice that goal, let's look at what the color code of those goals mean. I can see a different color code right above the cells. So if this is important, again, give us some feedback on Team Planner, and would it be helpful to see phases here? So good question. All right. Any other questions, Katie?
That is it for now, but we obviously keep the questions panel open the entire webinar, so please feel free to put anything in there.
Perfect. All right. Let's go back to our what's coming. I would like to introduce you to Miriam Ray, who is one of our product owners, and she will be showing you what's cooking on our roadmap. Miriam.
Thanks, Debbie. So you've mentioned the team planner, which is great for me because this is what we're actually working on. So phases soon will also be available in team planner. So when you have team planner, as you see here, you have the allocatees, and then you see the projects that have phases. So you have on project selection the possibility to also see the Gantt bar highlighted with the milestones. And then when you click into a phase, you will be able to edit in team planner this allocation value for the respective phase. And on hover, you will get information for the milestones. And of course, you also be able to do staffing. But before we go to the staffing mode, thank you a lot for participating in the survey, because that showed us the value of having a color legend also here. So also in Team Planner, when you choose the allocation mode phases, we're going to provide a color legend, so you're directly going to see what the respective color code means for the phases. And additionally, when we're in grid mode, then of course in configure view, you're going to have the option to color by phases, as Debbie wasn't able to show before, but will be able to show soon. So let's come to the staffing mode. In staffing mode, so the next slide. Thanks, Debbie. You're also going to be able to allocate on phase level. The problem there is kind of, we were not sure how to do this allocation because we have this time sliced sections, and then you can calculate what's the free capacity of your resources, but we were not sure how to actually distribute the value that you then enter across those slices. So for the time being, we decided to do an evenly distributed allocation on phase mode, but still you're going to have the possibility to allocate on phase mode in the staffing mode. And so we have a few open questions actually because of the survey that we evaluated. And one of those questions is regarding FTE. As Debbie already mentioned, next slide, please. The behavior is a bit different when choosing allocation mode phases, either for the allocation unit FTE or days and hours. So for days, the value stays constant when you move the milestone, as well as for FTE, but constant FTE value means that the total effort changes. So we asked this question, what do you expect? And the opinion was quite evenly split. So some of you said they expect the behavior as it constantly is implemented, and the other half said that actually they just would expect the opposite behavior. So for those who have a problem with the current behavior, feel free to book time with me to discuss about it, and we can see if we can figure out a way to change the behavior of this feature to also fit your needs. That would be really great. And another question that came up during the survey analysis was about the staffing mode, which I already showed you before. So it was really hard for us to decide how to distribute the allocation across the phase in the staff mode. And we asked you, what is your opinion on it? What would you expect? Would you even use this staffing mode if it behaves the way we thought about? And also there, the answers were kind of split. And a lot of people said, we wouldn't use this function, which of course is kind of sad because then the question is, maybe it's not even useful to implement for you and you prefer other features to be implemented. So also here, if you were one of those saying that you won't use the staffing mode functionality because of the behavior and its unexpected effort, then feel free to book time with me and to discuss how we would need to change this feature behavior to make you use it and to have an effort on your working circumstances. So your feedback is valuable. And if there are any features you're currently missing for the allocation phases, feel free to contact us and to discuss your needs with us, and we're going to be happy to help you.
Great, thank you so much, Miriam. Does anybody have any questions to this? If not, I would like to ask all of you, next slide, how many of you are signed up for our beta program already? Maybe? Any hands? I hope you are all. Ooh, Daryl, thank you so much. Well, if you aren't, here's how to sign up. Number one, your system admin. Oh, also thank you, Scott. If you aren't, your system admin first has to enable beta access in your organization. You will find this under Manage Subscription. And then once they have turned on beta access for the entire organization, you have to go up for each individual system. So each user of Meisterplan has to go up into My Profile and click Join Beta Program so that they are able to see all of our beta features. And we will soon have a new exciting addition to the beta program. It is, I would argue, the heart of Meisterplan. And this will be the new beta version of the Portfolio Designer. This is currently planned for an October release. And it's really something special that we've been working on. Debbie already mentioned it a little bit before, but it's truly the heart and soul of Meisterplan. And so we are going to spend our product roadmap in general portion of this webinar talking specifically about this feature. If your system admin has already turned on beta access, but you yourself have not entered the beta program, you can just click this Activate Beta Program button that you see on the Portfolio Designer, and you will automatically be enrolled. There is no reason to go into My Profile. And then there is one extra step that you will have to take, which is this toggle feature that you see at the upper right-hand corner between the classic version that you're already familiar with of the Portfolio Designer and the new beta version. You can also always continue working in the classic version as additionally, this is obviously a beta program. And so because of this, the functionality may be a little limited at times with the new version. However, we are consistently and continuously working on it to make it the best possible experience for you. So again, this is coming in October 2025. Next slide, please. And the first step that we will introduce will ensure a more enhanced and improved experience and performance, more intuitive working with a Portfolio Designer than what we currently have. It will also look very pretty in my personal opinion. And in this initial launch, next slide, please, you will be able to schedule projects and also prioritize projects and programs in the way that you were used to. Next slide, please. So you can see then here also the sliding, the drag and drop of the project that you're used to. And in the previous slide, you saw the must-have line. You can drag it up and down in this first release of the beta. Then, next slide, please. In the second release, or second portion, second step of our introduction of the new Portfolio Designer, we will introduce the Portfolio Health Monitor, which is this bar that you see up at the top of the screen. And it can give you a clear overview of, critical issues across your portfolio and makes addressing them much easier and makes your planning more effective because you are able to have that critical overview. Additionally, in the Portfolio Designer, you are going to be able to see more relevant project data more quickly so that you can focus on making decisions without having to switch between projects. Next slide, please. We will also improve already existing features. So for example, milestones and dependencies, the user experience will be much improved with this new beta. And then next slide, please. We will also improve the filtering ability in the Portfolio Designer. And this is all wrapped up in the second step, which is then in Q4. Then, because again, heart and soul of Meisterplan, it's the meat and potatoes. In the first half of 2026, we will have the third release. This is all that we currently have planned, but it will continue to develop. We are always looking for feedback. We are always looking for all of your input. And this third release will help you work with allocations in the Portfolio Designer in a new way. So it's going to combine smooth handling, proven functionality of existing views, like the team planner, I believe. Don't quote me on that, with the flexibility of the new design, making it easier to manage resources and just maximize the value of your portfolio. Next slide, please. We are still collecting feedback though. So please, please, please write to us, reach out to us on our product board, leave a comment, and let us know what are your need to have features, what do you really want to see in the new Portfolio Designer. Next slide, please. We would also like to take this opportunity to invite you to join our new LinkedIn group. Woo! There you'll be able to hear about all of our product updates. And this group specifically is run by product management. So you can always keep your finger on the pulse. They say no noise is always what they say. It's very close to the product, very specific about what exactly we are working on here at Meisterplan. And then next slide, please. Another QR code. If you are interested in our future events and webinars, please do not forget to check out meisterplan.com/events or follow this QR code to see what we have in store for you. And additionally, you will be able to find the recording of this webinar on this page. So I know you've had a great time. You want to watch it again, see our beautiful faces, then you can just head on over to meisterplan.com/events. Now, are there any questions? I see a hand raised. I believe, Rachel, you had your hand up first. Can you unmute yourself if you would like to ask a question? If not, you can always just type it into the question, the chat or the questions panel. will this presentation be made available in PDF form? I believe we can do that, and we will upload it. We will definitely keep it on the events page where we also have the recording of the webinar. Any other questions? I see one. Then Debbie, if you are able to answer this, I think that you'll be the best person for it. That would be, then can you do a quick import of the allocation by phases?
So technically, we would encourage you to use the allocation list for that. We don't have something as specific by phases, but the allocation list would allow you to, let me show you in the Help Center, define the phase boundaries with the start and finish date. There is actually a nice help file that talks about it too, and I will point you to the help file for those that would like to read up on this. Just search for allocation phase, importing allocations by phase. So this help file is just summarizing how to use the allocation list and define what your phase boundaries are as it's being imported. So this would be the place to go if you want to import by allocation phase. Any other questions, Kate?
I do not see any other questions. I will count to 5 in my head, and then if there's not anything there by the end. Okay, then if you come up with something later, please, again, feel free to reach out. We are always there for you. And I hope that we can answer your question as to the best of our abilities. So thank you so much for being here tonight, or it's tonight for me, today for you. And I hope that you all have a great rest of your day, and anything comes up, we're always happy to help. So please have a good rest of your day, and thank you for your time.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.